Here we go. Happy Thursday. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for making today's show on this April 18th, 2024 a part of your day. There is a lot to discuss on the Niners front in the lead up to the 2024 NFL Draft, which, believe it or not, I can't believe how quickly this year is going by, but the NFL Draft officially a week away, 7 days away, and we'll be live for every single pick, every single round right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Be sure to subscribe and join us anytime the Niners make a move, whether it's up the draft board, down the draft board, they matriculate up, they make some moves, they make a selection. We will talk about it all right here on the show with some really in-depth scouting profiles on all of the players who are going to be going to the Niners in the draft. Coming up here on the show today, going to get to the latest on the Brandon Aiyuk situation and pass along some trade buzz that we haven't yet discussed here on the program. I have a new Niners mock draft, all 7 rounds. I put the hat on of General Manager John Lynch, and I make the decisions. Also, Mel Kiper Jr., Field Yates, ESPN NFL draft experts put together a 3-round mock draft. We are going to react to that together, and we'll also do a mailbag. How do you get involved on the most interactive Niners channel right here on YouTube? It is very easy. You use the hashtag 49ers or you send in a super chat. The report that's picking up a lot of traction today, and Brandon Aiyuk's agent did shut this down once again, but who's to say that sports agents can't control the narrative and shut down reports for the good of their client? Please keep that in mind. But according to some Steelers writers, and this has really been consistent all throughout this offseason, as Pittsburgh has been aggressively pursuing wide receivers, and they're really interested in Brandon Aiyuk. And according to a report that we're going to talk about, the Steelers would be surprised if they don't land Aiyuk. But here's the issue with that, is that they're not willing to give up the proper price for Aiyuk in a trade. So I don't think San Francisco is going to go that direction. Now, Brandon Aiyuk's agent is Ryan Williams of Athletes First. Keep in mind, I did a commentary on the report that the Steelers were very interested in him, aggressively pursuing Brandon Aiyuk, that they would be surprised if a deal did not get done. It's very important in today's media world to be able to decipher what is a commentary and an opinion from an actual report. So Ryan Williams quote tweeted my commentary, my video. He didn't actually shoot down the report. And he said another report that couldn't be more incorrect. Fictional journalism should really stop. As one man would say, fake news. But thank you so much for the views there, Ryan Williams. Again, a commentary. I was just sharing some opinions as a content creator on a different report that was out there. As I've reported, Ryan Williams and John Lynch are best friends. John Lynch was the best man at Ryan Williams' wedding, and they want to get a deal done. That's coming from yours truly right here. All right, we're going to continue to talk about the latest on the Aiyuk front, but first, let's get the comment section going here. Shout out your city. Let me know where you're watching from. We'll start to give you some shout-outs here. Brett A., Christian Boyer, Chris Millette, Robert Sist, Roberto Davis, Gina G. Tom Brady is watching the show. That's very cool. And Gump Wolf getting us going with the $20 super chat. Hi, Chase, Trizzy, Chip, and the faithful today. Got my man, producer Chip, flanked here to my right.
Yo, what up, Gump Wolf?
Gump Wolf, my man. Thank you for that 20. Gina G is watching from Chino Hills, California. Steve Marshall in Gettysburg. Rick is in Orlando, Florida. Tremonton, Utah from Brett A. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Joe Shanyo, Plattsburgh, New York. I think I almost took a job there. I interviewed for a job coming out of college to try to work at a television station there. They passed up on me. Their wrong decision. Gina G saying, what's up, Gump Wolf? Wet Noodle tuned in from Spokane, Washington. And speaking of the man, the myth, the legend, Gump Wolf, he is in Cincinnati, Ohio. A programming alert for me and a programming alert for all of the real ones among the faithful who watch the show. I'll be hopping on with the OG Grant Cohn on his YouTube channel a little bit later today on this Thursday, April 18th, 4:15 p.m. Pacific, 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Plenty to discuss on the Niners front, and it's the collaboration that many people have been asking for the last couple of years. Here's our Super Chat menu for today's show. Gump Wolf with the 20, so we owe you a beer cheers. $10 gets you in the running for our April jersey race. All Super Chats, as always, you get a shout out because we really appreciate you for supporting the program. $50, you can sign the Niners helmet. And if somebody sends in a $100 Super Chat, we're going to do a shotgun right here on the show. Chase, you're the man. Great job from Brett A. Thank you so much, my brother. I do appreciate that. If you want to get on the show, a few ways for you to get involved. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. You see how many comments come into the comment section here. When you use the hashtag 49ers, it makes Chip's job so much easier because then he can filter through all of the rest of the comments to find the good ones using hashtag 49ers. You send in a super chat, guaranteed to be here on the show. If you're ready to start the program, as Pat McAfee would say, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. TFL Slayer, I love you too. Forrest Winson, salute to you. We have people watching from all across the globe, every pocket of America and worldwide. But if you're ready to officially start the show and talk some Niners football here, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video right now. 150 people watching live, only 26 likes. Come on, are you a real one? And if you're a real one, smash that thumbs up icon right now. Got to get to at least 50 likes before we start the official show. So LFG, let's get it going. A loaded docket coming your way on the 49ers report here today. Chris saying, wait to pronounce my last name correctly. Everyone always butchers it. Chris Millette? I think I got it right. Sounds right, right? Gina G, like and subscribe. You already know. Angela, much love from Sioux City, Iowa. Very cool right there. All right, we are going to start off with the latest on the Brandon Aiyuk front. What is happening with the 49ers' number one wide receiver? His agent taking some exceptions to what I tweeted, even though it was an opinion piece. Let's discuss it all here on the San Francisco 49ers report, live on Chat Sports. Welcome into the show and a happy Thursday to everybody tuned in here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. On the docket, I want to talk about all of this buzz surrounding Brandon Aiyuk as he continues to be one of the marquee storylines across the National Football League. According to a report from a Steelers publication, Pittsburgh aggressively pursuing Brandon Aiyuk, and Pittsburgh would be surprised if they do not land him. Now, there was a report from All Steelers, which is a blog covering the Steelers. I quote tweeted that report, and I also did my own commentary on the report, and I shared some of my thoughts and opinions in saying that the asking price for Brandon Aiyuk should be a first-round pick, and Pittsburgh could be a team of interest because currently they have the 20th overall pick. And Brandon Aiyuk is the 25th overall pick from the 2020 draft. He's an all-pro player, one of the best wide receivers in the game. And I simply said that if the Niners were to deal him, that could be a draft pick that could be of their liking if they're not able to come to an agreement on a long-term contract extension with Brandon Aiyuk. And I've said for a long time, I think the only way Aiyuk is not with the Niners is if he asks out. Now, Aiyuk's agent is Ryan Williams of Athletes First, and he quote tweeted my commentary and my opinion piece, which is much different from a report because I didn't report anything. What I reported in early March was that Ryan Williams and John Lynch are best friends, that John Lynch was the best man at Ryan Williams' wedding, Ryan Williams was at John Lynch's Hall of Fame induction, and they want to get a deal done. That's the reporting from yours truly. But Ryan Williams, my Twitter mentions are now on fire saying, I'm getting filleted, that I'm a fraud, that I suck at my job. Another report that couldn't be more incorrect. Fictional journalism should really stop. As one famous person would say, fake news. But it's not fake news because I'm not reporting news. It was an opinion piece and a commentary. And it's always important to remember that an agent's job, whether it's an agent for a television personality, an agent for an athlete, their job is always to get their client paid, to secure the bag for their client. because in turn, if a player gets paid, the agent gets paid. That's how these things work, because the agent gets a cut of that contract for the athlete. And agents, whether it's Ryan Williams or Drew Rosenhaus, they always want to control the narrative because that benefits them, it benefits their client. And it's important to remember that Ryan Williams and John Lynch are best friends, so Ryan Williams could be helping the San Francisco 49ers out here by saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not interested in Brandon Aiyuk. That's fake news. Why would you trust an agent 100% of the time, just like why would you trust a reporter 100% of the time? These things are always about leverage, ladies and gentlemen. And if that's the case, that no teams are interested in Aiyuk and the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't aggressively pursuing him, then get a deal done. And it's also important to say to Ryan Williams, your client is the one who directly tweeted at Mike Tomlin a couple of weeks ago amidst these trade rumors saying, they're saying that we really look alike, huh? So Aiyuk to Pittsburgh. This is what we do, though, is that the Steelers all along have been a team that's mentioned most frequently as an Aiyuk suitor for a bevy of reasons. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reporting that general manager Omar Khan for the Steelers really wants to land a number one wide receiver to put alongside George Pickens on that offense with Pat Freiermuth, who's a really good tight end. They're trying to shore up that offensive line. I think they do that in the NFL draft through the Steelers because their defense is already in a tremendous spot. And the report came from All Steelers, a Steelers publication, that Pittsburgh would be surprised if they don't land Brandon Aiyuk. And Pittsburgh all along this offseason wants that legitimate go-to option for Russell Wilson and or Justin Fields. Remember, Aiyuk directly tweeted Mike Tomlin. And did he do this to draw up conversation? Did he do this because he's eyeing Pittsburgh as a destination, knowing they want a wide receiver? They might be willing to pay him. Here's that report from All Steelers. According to a team source, the Steelers and 49ers trade talks are real. While nothing is imminent, they would be surprised if it didn't happen. But it all comes down to compensation, and Pittsburgh isn't willing to budge much on the price. With Aiyuk making it publicly known on social media that negotiations aren't going well with he and the Niners by unfollowing San Francisco, like the Steelers have some advantage in these trade talks. Pittsburgh isn't willing to overpay for a player who isn't going to be around long term with their current team. So what they're saying there is that upon trading for Aiyuk, they'd have to sign him to a contract extension. And my mentions have been on fire because Ryan Williams quote tweeted my tweet, and you can say whatever you want about me. I frankly do not care. My mentions have also been on fire from Steelers fans who I think are absolutely delusional because they don't think that Brandon Aiyuk is that good. They don't think that Brandon Aiyuk is a number one wide receiver. They don't think that Aiyuk is worth a first-round pick. And it's hard to trust the evaluation of Steelers fans, as a fellow Pennsylvanian, by the way, who loves the city of Pittsburgh, because that fan base has watched, they've rooted on an archaic offense that's been bad to, at best, mediocre over the last couple of years. And I have respect for Mike Tomlin. He's never had a losing season in 17 seasons in the Steel City, but he actually thought Matt Canada was the answer at offensive coordinator. And it took a lot for him to finally move off an offensive coordinator who is absolutely inept. Brandon Aiyuk would be the Steelers' best wide receiver since Antonio Brown. And for me, I think Aiyuk is definitely worth a first-round selection. And we're going to talk about that coming up here in just a second, because what would the asking price be for the Steelers or another team that's an Aiyuk suitor as far as getting this deal done if the Niners do move on? First, let's hear from you. If you want the Niners to extend BA, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If not, I want you to comment why. Stay tuned for all of that. But first, make sure you sign up with PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, and the only DFS app that I use, and the only DFS app that you should be using. They make daily fantasy sports so easy. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on their projected stat lines, and you can win up to 25 times your money. Get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. Some PrizePicks futures here. Christian McCaffrey coming off 2,000 all-purpose yards. How about more than 1,150.5 rushing yards for the 2024 season. He just has to stay healthy. We know that he takes care of his body. Michael Pittman Jr. signing that lofty contract extension with the Colts. Does he cash in with the big year after he cashed in literally? More than 1,050.5 receiving yards. And I love this one because I think Derrick Henry is going to be able to find the end zone quite frequently. More than 10.5 rushing touchdowns for the season in that backfield with Lamar Jackson, where you have the thunder and lightning combination. Pick more, pick less, win big money, withdraw your winnings, all within the PrizePicks app. $100 deposit match, prizepicks.com/CLNS. As for the Brandon Aiyuk asking price, let's go through a couple of ideas here. The starting point in a trade, Brandon Aiyuk is worth a first-round pick. And if I'm the Niners, that is the starting point in any trade negotiations, any trade talks. He's a 26-year-old All-Pro who's still scratching the surface of what he can become, because I think there's even better football player in there. And he himself was the 25th overall pick back in the 2020 draft. And let's say that the Steelers are the team that is hot and heavy on Aiyuk, right? They're notable draft picks this year. They have the 20th overall pick, Aiyuk the 25th pick, and an All-Pro. They have a round 2 selection, 51st overall, round 3 pick, 84 overall, a third rounder at 98. That's a compensatory pick from that Kenny Pickett trade from Philadelphia, and then a round 4 selection, number 119. You can package some of these picks maybe if the Niners do elect to advance in these trade conversations. Here's one of my trade ideas where it's simply Aiyuk to Pittsburgh, and then the Niners get a first-round pick back, 20th overall. I think that's pretty equal value. The Steelers want that number 1 wide receiver. You can have him. But then the Niners need to replace him, and they also need some offensive line help. So they can draft a wide receiver at 20 and then get an offensive lineman at number 31. Trade idea numero dos is where the Steelers get Brandon Aiyuk and a first-round pick, 31st overall. So we're giving you the 31st overall selection and the number 1 wide receiver on this football team. So in turn, I want a little bit more back. I want a first-round pick, 20th overall, and then you also give me a third-round selection too, 84th overall. And that allows San Francisco to go about this as far as their team strategy goes in a way where they can stack up some really, really solid players here, and they can find that Aiyuk replacement in the first round, or with a couple of different picks in that third round, does Brendan Rice fall? Do you want to reach a little bit early on Luke McCaffrey? Do you want to go after a Troy Franklin if he dips, and Xavier Legette, somebody else to get a wide receiver in that third round if you decide to go offensive lineman or best player available at 20th overall? So a couple of trade ideas right there. Which one do you like the most if you were forced into making a move? Simply type 1 or 2 as far as those trade ideas go. Our Super Chat menu for today, segment number 2, coming up here in about 1 or 2 minutes. All Super Chats will get a shout out. $10. You enter our April jersey race. If you support the show, you're in the running for us to send you a Niners jersey. $20 will give you a beer cheers. By the way, I have to give you that from our boy, Gump Wolf.
Gump Wolf.
Cheers to our guy, Gump Wolf. Thank you for that $20 Super Chat a little bit earlier. $50, you get to sign our Niners helmet. I'll also get this on the ground here. Look how beautiful this is. You get to sign it if you support the show. Send in that $50 and then $100 Super Chat. We'll shotgun a beer right here on the program as well. Gina G, Game Time, Wolfie, Chris Millette, all a part of the recent Commenter Club. Thanks for being here with us as well as everybody else. We only have 56 likes right now. Please continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Roberto Davis, Aiyuk is not going anywhere. I'm certain the price starts at a middle first-round pick, probably a first and a second this year. You got to play hardball, man. So I like that starting point. Gina G saying cheers. Cheers, Gina G.
Cheers. Hey, we're going to have a mailbag coming up soon. If you have any takes about Brandon Aiyuk, any questions about the Aiyuk situation, any questions about the draft, anything of the sorts, get those questions, and we don't have any questions yet. So if you want to get your voice heard A lot of people have a lot of things to say in the comments here about Aiyuk, so if you want to get that on the show, use hashtag 49ers. Get that in or super chat to guarantee you're on the show.
Yes, sir. Segment number 2. Do some mock draft talk. Roberto Davis calling out the fake news cycle. Jason K agrees. All right. Mock draft reaction. Coming up next from Mel Kiper and Field Yates, segment number 2. We continue to stay live right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports, I'm Chase Sr., is sponsored by 8 Sleep. If you want to improve your sleep, do it with 8 Sleep, because a quality night's sleep is really at the backbone of the success that we have as human beings. And it really does so much to improve your health. And 8 Sleep is on a mission to help you get some more shut-eye. The Pod 3 cover is tremendous, and we'll tell you more about that coming up here in just a few minutes. $200 off that pod cover and free shipping at 8sleep.com/chatsports. You see the link at the bottom of the screen. Coming up on the rundown for today's show, we're going to break down ESPN's new 3-round mock draft and take a look at who Mel Kiper Jr. and Field Yates, 2 of ESPN's NFL draft experts, have going to the Niners with their picks in round 1, round 2, and in round 3. As far as our coverage of the NFL draft, we'll be live for all 7 rounds starting on Thursday, day 2 on Friday, and then we're going to get up early and do it all over again on Saturday. You do not want to miss our coverage, in-depth scouting profiles on every single player who's taken, and of course, in-depth analysis on all of the players making their way to the San Francisco 49ers roster. So Mel Kiper making the first pick for the Niners here with the second to last selection in the first round. Niners will be on the clock, 31st overall pick. And Mel Kiper has San Francisco taking Arizona offensive tackle and guard Jordan Morgan. And that's pretty interesting because in his last 2 mock drafts, he's had San Francisco taking Washington right tackle Roger Rosengarten. And a couple of my mocks and a couple of my videos and talking about some top Niners draft prospects, we have talked a lot about Jordan Morgan. And he's been a really popular pick and a very popular evaluation because the Niners need an offensive lineman. He has some tackle and guard versatility, a good scheme fit, a team captain, and what he's put on tape playing in a competitive Pac-12 conference for Arizona has been impressive because he's held up well against some really good edge rushers at the college level. Here's what Kiper had to say in his write-up about the selection of Jordan Morgan. San Francisco needs to add competition for its right tackle spot. Morgan is a veteran left tackle who could make the switch to battle Colton McKivitz. My scouting profile on Morgan, he's 6'5", 311 pounds, so good size there. He also ran very well in the pre-draft process, a 5.04 40-yard dash. Offensive lineman getting out in space on the move, always important in Kyle Shanahan's scheme. Jordan Morgan does have somewhat shorter arms compared to other offensive tackle prospects, 32 7/8 inches, but he's very experienced as a player. 41 games, including 37 starts at left tackle throughout his Arizona career. He has good bend, feet, very good body control for that size at 6'5", 311. Very good football IQ, where he has these fast eyes, allowing him to pass off blockers. And I always think that's important given the twists and the stunts and the gains that defenses are increasingly running at the NFL level. He also didn't need a lot of help on that left side. Arizona had a lot of confidence as a coaching staff in Jordan Morgan to be out on an island. As for some of his weaknesses, he can struggle with lateral range from time to time. He did have several ankle injuries while in college, as well as an ACL a couple of years ago. And if the Niners draft him with those shorter arms to play offensive guard, that might sound good in theory, but can he do it? We're not sure because he did not play any offensive guard in college, as evidenced by the 37 starts and 41 games at left tackle. He's also a very physical player, which I do like about him. This is today's poll question, by the way. Will the Niners draft an offensive lineman in the first round? It's certainly the most glaring need for San Francisco. Type OL, offensive line, if yes, or type O for other. As I mentioned off the top of the show, the 49ers report today is sponsored by 8 Sleep. Sleep to power a whole new you, and it's the high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover slips right over your mattress, bringing heating and cooling technology that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. The Pod cover going to improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs and where you set it, because the cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet, and it allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. There's no better way to improve your day-to-day life better than sleep. The easiest way to do that, the 8 Sleep Pod 3. In addition to keeping you at the perfect temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and health metrics. And how about this? On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just 1 month on the pod. You can control everything with this intelligent sleep system right from your phone. You put the device right next to your bed. And the best part about all of this is $200 off, free shipping on the pod cover by going to 8sleep.com/chatsports. Now we segue and shift gears to round 2 for San Francisco. Back on the clock with the 63rd overall pick. And once again, it's Mel Kiper making the pick for San Francisco and has the Niners taking Kentucky cornerback Drew Phillips. In his last mock draft, he had Rosengarten in round 1. This time he goes Jordan Morgan. In his last mock draft, he had Drew Phillips to the Niners. So he's piggybacking off that other mock draft and going with the Kentucky cornerback once again. Here's the write-up once more. This is about beefing up a secondary that struggled at times at the end of last year. Phillips has high-ceiling physical tools after playing nearly 600 coverage snaps over his past 2 years. Phillips is climbing up some draft boards. A lot of NFL draft evaluators really like his physicality, as Kiper said, but also the competitive fire that he has as well. He's a little bit shorter, so he's going to be an outside corner. Is he going to be in the slot? He's 5'10", $190, ran pretty well, 4.48 40-yard dash. He's certainly physical, and he can reroute a lot of wide receivers off their path. He's played multiple techniques, which always benefits you going to the next level. Good footwork and acceleration. Some of the most important traits as a cornerback are those. Also, anticipates well, even though he did not have any interceptions in college, which the ball skills or the lack thereof, a little bit of a concern for me. Okay frame, but is really, really strong. I like the versatility of playing slot nickel or outside. He can play special teams. The weaknesses there, no picks in college, as I said. And because of the smaller frame, he might struggle against bigger wide receivers. One more pick to get to for San Francisco, but make sure you pick me up on social media. I'm on X at Chase_Senior and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Short form videos going out on those platforms. So if you want even more Niners coverage, you want to chop it up, you want to stay in the know with everything that the Niners do, I keep you in the know on social media there on X and Instagram. Round 3 now. 94th overall selection. And this is a player who I really, really like. Mel Kiper made the first 2 picks. Now it's time for Field Yates to do his thing. And San Francisco here drafts TCU tight end Jared Wiley. Outside of Brock Bowers, who is a top 10 player in this draft class and is going to be selected in the first round at some point, might even be a top 10 pick, Jared Wiley is my favorite tight end target for the Niners. Great size at 6'6", 249 pounds. He ran a 4.62 40-yard dash at the Combine in Indianapolis, and a lot of people were very impressed by that. That's about a second faster than George Kittle for reference. Great size and frame. He's going to be able to add a little bit of bulk, I think, at the next level. The ball skills, the tracking, the football skills, and the catch radius are all there for Jared Wiley. He can use his body to kind of finish in traffic. That's important when you're going down the seam. Had an 81-yard touchdown against Baylor, and the getaway speed that he had on that play was very, very impressive. Gives you a peek as far as what his potential could be at the next level. 5 red zone touchdowns in 2023. Number 1 among all tight ends in college football. The weaknesses here, 1 year of really good production, is going to be 24 years old in his rookie season, and he is not a great tackle breaker, so he doesn't run with the physicality that a George Kittle does. So different players in that regard. Grade this Niners mock draft. Mel Kiper, Field Yates, doing their thing. A, B, C, D, or F. Be honest with the feedback and let us know how we can get better here on the 49ers Report as well. Eric Wallace saying BA, very important to San Francisco. You are right. Malachi Corley to replace Debo from Roberto Davis. Trip Aces also said Zach Frazier is a day one talent. Krug loves him. B+ and a C- from TFL Slayer. B+ from Michael Catanzaro. Roberto giving a shout out to Wallace saying he's a solid Seahawks fan, no troll. Thanks for hanging out here with us. Welcome to the bright side. Brother man, B+. Joe G. What's up, Joe G? Gina G with the B. And how about Gina G? A $20 super chat from Gina G, the OG. Looking great in the profile picture there, Gina. Thanks for supporting the show. And cheers to you.
What up, Gina? How you doing? Appreciate it. Real one, Gina G.
That's a real one right there.
Giving the mock draft a beat. Maybe we'll see. We'll see if they like this one more or the one you got cooked up coming up next.
Yeah.
We'll see.
My own mock coming up next here on the show.
We will see.
Going to be going on with Grant Cohn on his YouTube channel, by the way, at 6:15 p.m. Pacific. No. Did I get that right? Yeah, let's see if I got that right. I always mess up the time zones here.
It's confusing.
4:15 p.m. Pacific, 7:15 p.m. Eastern.
Right, yeah.
It's always tough, too, because I always go Eastern time before Pacific time. Then you do the simple math.
And
it's kind of backwards for me.
We're in Central, so it's even more confusing.
It's always confusing. All right, hashtag Niners or a super chat to get on the show here. We will do a mailbag after my mock draft, which is coming up right now.
Get those questions in, baby.
Gina G, we love you back.
Get those questions in. We got Drippy Sports and TFL Slayer got some questions in.
Good stuff.
I know there's some of y'all out there that got some questions. I see y'all asking questions in the chat right now, but I can't get them up if you don't use hashtag 49ers.
If you don't get questions in, then we'll just end the stream and we won't do a mailbag to chop it up with everybody. So one more segment to go until we do that mailbag. Nick Dolfer, Prost.
Oh.
Good afternoon, 49er family. What up, Nick? How you doing this afternoon?
How you doing?
Game time. I like this. From a business perspective, I believe you keep Aiyuk because you find another Brock Purdy and you support him with some good players. I think is what you meant to say there. All right. New mock draft coming up right now. Segment number 3. It's mock draft time once again here on the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Another full 7-round mock to see who I would take with the Niners selections as we continue to approach the NFL draft, which is coming your way on Thursday from Detroit. And here on the 49ers Report, we're going to be live for every single day, every single round, talking about every single pick with some great coverage to come right here on the show. Let's set the table here by looking at the Niners draft picks so far as of right now in the upcoming draft. first on the clock, round 1, 31st overall. They have a second-round selection at pick 63, a third-round pick, 94th, and then a couple of fourth-rounders, pick 124 from Dallas in the Trey Lance trade, 132 and 135. 3 compensatory picks consecutively there. Round 5, pick 176. Round 6, pick 211. Round 6, 215. And then a 7th round pick at 251 overall. So 10 picks in totality for San Francisco going into the draft as of this recording. And I'm going to switch it up a little bit in the first round for San Francisco. I get it that the priority is and the need is offensive line help, but I'd say the second biggest need for San Francisco going into the 2024 season is cornerback. Also keep in mind that Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Isaac Yiadom, Chase Lucas, Ambry Thomas, all going to be free agents at the cornerback spot for San Francisco. So you need an influx of youth at this position, and I'm going best player available. In the draft simulator, Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama fell to me at 31. I could not pass him up. I really like the player. You can make the argument he could end up being the best cornerback in this class, and if you get the best corner in this draft class with the 31st overall pick, that is excellent value. He did not run at the NFL Combine because of a Jones fracture in his foot, which was discovered that week, but he did run at his pro day. And with that broken foot, he still ran a 4.47 40-yard dash. He is expected to come back from that and be 100% for training camp. Solid size at the DB spot, 5'11", $199. I like his balance. I like his fluid hips, allowing him to change direction. He has 32-inch arms, not bad for a corner, allowing him to jam at the line of scrimmage. He reads the eyes of wide receivers well, which I think is an underrated skill from a DB because it can allow you to look at the eyes of a wide receiver, then turn around and make plays on the football. He would give San Francisco some special teams ability. The Niners earlier this week did bring back Trent Taylor on a 1-year deal, and he's averaged about 9 yards per punt throughout his career, but Kool-Aid has a little bit more wiggle to the likes of Ray McCloud. I love McKinstry's dog mentality and his confidence. He will not be scared against any player in the National Football League. The weaknesses here, the speed is just okay on tape, but the 4.47, maybe a little bit better than what people anticipated. That did come at his pro day, so maybe those numbers juiced a little bit. He did only have 2 interceptions in 2,199 snaps, but he's been a durable player. Missed no games for Alabama. He's one of my favorite corners in this draft class, and this is a very good cornerback class as far as the upper echelon players at that position go. After about round 1, there's a drop-off, but then I also really like some of the slot corners, like a Mike Sainristil still out of Michigan. Here's my cornerback big board. I don't think Quinion Mitchell is going to be available within range for San Francisco. Kool-Aid McKinstry is my second best corner in this class, followed by his teammate in Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins out of Clemson, a 4.3 40-yard dash guy, and then Cooper DeJean, just a Swiss Army knife and an all-around excellent athlete at the next level, could be a corner safety hybrid. Daniel Jeremiah, very well-respected draft analyst for NFL Network, said that Kool-Aid McKinstry is actually the best fit among corners for what the Niners like to do defensively. When you look at what he's done just over the last few weeks, he gets a chance to show that he's healthy coming off that foot injury. He ran a really fast time, faster than I expected. I know that, and that was one of the big question marks for him. The Texas game was not his best, but I thought he got better as the season went along and has played a lot of good football there at Alabama. The 49ers, a team that is going to play with a lead, and you need 2 things with that. You need pass rushers, and you need corners. Kool-Aid McKinstry has been well-trained at Alabama, and I think he's ready to play right away. Him being ready to play right away, he could be the number 2 corner opposite of Mooney Ward, and then you keep Diamador Lenore in the slot. With that, let's ask you this. What position would you go in round 1 if you're this Niners front office? Cornerback, offensive line, or other? And if it's a different position, list which one down in the comment section. A popular player mocked to the Niners has been right tackle for Washington, Roger Rosengarten. I think he's a stretch. I think he's a little bit of a reach at 31, but here in this mock draft simulation, he was available at number 63. So if the Niners like him so much, this too is really good value, But you're also getting the best player available in Kool-Aid McKinstry at 31 overall, and you're getting the best player available, in my opinion, here in the second round at this juncture with the player in Roger Rosengarten, who John Lynch and Chris Forrester last weekend went to Seattle to scout some Washington pro prospects. They watched him up close and personal. Then they worked with him individually after the rest of the team worked out. Pretty good scouting profile here. He's 6'5", 308 pounds. He ran the fastest 40-yard dash among all offensive tackles at the NFL Scouting Combine. He clocked a 4.92, which is stupid speed at 308 pounds. Light basketball feet, you always want that from an offensive tackle on the perimeter there. Good hands to block and finish. He can really climb to that second level, allowing him to be disruptive in the screen game. He's been durable the last 2 years, started all 28 games for Washington, and then helped them obviously go to the national championship this past year. Not a huge lower frame, so sometimes he can lose his balance at times. If he did go back to school, Mel Kiper made the argument he could be a top 10 pick, but he's deciding to forego that eligibility to declare for the draft now. This is a player with so much upside and development, and he was coached, by the way, at Valor Christian High School in Colorado by Ed McCaffrey, the father of Christian McCaffrey. Another programming reminder here. We're going to be live for the NFL Draft right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report every day, every pick, every round, in-depth scouting profiles, any draft selections that the Niners do make. We're really going to teach you about that prospect right here on the show. And today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the game. They make daily fantasy sports so easy where you just pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on their projected stat totals, and you can win some big-time money. Big-time deposit match if you use that link at the bottom of your screen, prizepicks.com/CLNS. It's a $100 deposit match. Some of the futures that we like here, Christian McCaffrey for the 2024 season, he had 2,000 all-purpose yards last year. If he stays healthy, I think he's a shoo-in for more than 1,150.5 rushing yards. Michael Pittman, can he get 1,100? I think he can after getting the bag. And then Derrick Henry in that backfield with Lamar Jackson. I like that move for Baltimore. I think that King Henry has some gas left in the tank, more than 10.5 rushing touchdowns. Win big money, withdraw your winnings, all within the PrizePicks app. Pick more, pick less. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Now to round 3, 94th overall selection. We keep it in the family. Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry, is a player who I really, really like. And I think that he could play right away as a slot wide receiver, not quite ready as far as the body type goes to be an outside wide receiver. That's fine. You have Brandon Aiyuk, you have Deebo Samuel, you have Jawan Jennings. Brendan Rice wouldn't have a lot of pressure on him, and he would be a very good number 3 or number 4 option at that wide receiver spot. San Francisco clearly interested in the player. They met with Brendan Rice at the NFL Combine, and then they brought him into Santa Clara on a 30 visit. I don't think they're just doing that because his dad is the GOAT of all wide receivers and one of, if not the best Niners of all time in Jerry Rice. I think legitimately, when they scout and evaluate the player, they like what Brendan Rice brings to the field. I do too. 6'2", 208, 4.5 40-yard dash, so good size, good speed. I like the bulk there. I think he can add on to his frame a good vertical leap and good vertical speed, which I think is underrated because he can take the top off of the defense. Also good body control. We saw that in the pro day with some of the long throws that Caleb Williams was uncorking. We saw it on tape as Rice had 12 touchdowns this past year, one of 8 players in FBS to do that. His kick return average with the special teams value, 25.2 yards per kick return. The separation quickness, just okay. Uses his good footwork and good route running sometimes to get that separation in addition to that speed. But I think he slots in well to start in as a slot wide receiver for San Francisco. Kalen Bullock, the safety out of USC. Another player who I like. He's wiry, he's a little bit thin, but he plays fast, has some good ball skills. The Niners are looking for a center field type of safety. and that's what Bullock is. So back-to-back players from USC here, and the Niners also brought in Bullock for a visit this week to Santa Clara to take a look at the facility. He took a photo of Levi Stadium. He posted it on his Instagram page. And at the NFL Combine, he talked about Talanoa Hufanga, who went to USC, in addition to this Niners defense. And here's exactly what Kalen Bullock had to say about that.
I watch this game a lot. I've been watching Talanoa since he's been at USC. Sadly, he left the year right when I got there to go to the NFL. But Talanoa, he's been like a big brother. He always texts me, congratulate me, make sure that I know that he's with me. And if I ever need anything, I know I can ask him for anything. Yeah, the defensive line, I think 49ers have one of the best defensive line and defenses in the NFL right now.
And these 30 visits, they're not the end-all, be-all, right? But it allows you as an organization to scout the prospect, interact with the prospect, get some important information, and just grab some good information and a feel for what that player could bring to your organization. What he could bring to the football field. The Niners have scouted this player a bunch, I imagine, so they kind of know that, but they want to know the personality, how he could get along with some of his teammates, how he adds to this Niners culture. 6'2", 188 pounds, 4.48, 40-yard dash speed. He is a fluid and smooth athlete with a lot of center field range. I think he anticipates very, very well, and that speed allows him to close on the football and close on players very, very quickly. Has length and ball skills with some long arms, 293 special team snaps throughout his career at USC. Versatility here too. And I always like players who can offer you versatility because they just give you more reasons to put him on the football field. He played a little bit of nickel and in the slot at USC as well. The concern for me, 188 pounds for a safety, he's skinny. And his nickname, I think, is like Skinny or Bones or something along those lines. So it's real. Like, he does have some smaller legs, some smaller arms, but I like what I saw on tape from him. And the other concern, what position is he? Some NFL draft evaluators think that maybe he's a slot corner. Other people think that he's a safety. I more so think he's a safety because of that center field range. And what have we talked about all throughout this offseason? That the 49ers have been looking at safeties this offseason in free agency. They haven't signed one yet. So are they going to go that route in the NFL draft? And if they do so, Kalen Bullock, a good option. I think it's important to start planning for the post-George Kittle days, and we're going to do that here with the 132nd overall pick with Jared Wiley out of TCU. We've talked about him a lot here on the show because I happen to like the player. And George Kittle is still playing at an elite level, but look, Father Time is undefeated. And then financially, Brock Purdy contract extension is looming. They haven't signed Brandon Aiyuk to a deal yet. Charvarius Ward, Deommodore Lenoir, Talanoa Hufanga. You have to start planning financially for the post-prime core player days, but also with George Kittle too, because at some point you might have to move off of him in order to save some money to pay to a Brock Purdy or a Brandon Aiyuk to keep that younger nucleus together. Wiley has terrific size. He stands at 6'6", 249 pounds, 4.62 40-yard dash was about a second slower than George Kittle, but at that size, it's good movement. The size in the frame, I think, is going to be able to add bulk. The ball skills, the tracking, the catch radius, all important, especially when you're going down the seam and when you utilize tight ends as much as San Francisco likes to. Not the blocker that Kittle is, but that's always something that you can develop with your game. Wiley can use his body to kind of finish in traffic. I want you all to do yourselves a favor. Go look at his 81-yard touchdown against Baylor this past year. The breakaway speed, just very impressive. He also had 5 red zone touchdowns in 2023. Number 1 among all tight ends in college football. Not a great tackle breaker like George Kittle is. 1 year of production, and he's a little bit older at 24 years old. But if he's an impact player for the next 4, 5, 6 years, you're not really worried about how old he is as a rookie. 5 more selections to get to for the mock draft here. Cade Wallace, offensive tackle, offensive guard out of Penn State. I would love the value here and the potential upside of him at 135 overall. As we near the draft, he's starting to garner a little bit more hype and buzz. Brennan Jackson plays with his hair on fire with a lot of effort. I think the Niners need some edge rusher depth. He flashed on tape out of Washington State. We go with him, 176 overall. Evan Anderson was in for a visit with the Niners in the pre-draft process, so clearly they're doing their due diligence on the player. Defensive tackle out of FAU. Kamani Vidal, running back out of Troy, is one of the best run-blocking running backs in the country. Kyle Shanahan loves his running backs who can pass protect. And one of my draft sleepers, a player who I really, really like, is linebacker Jordan McGee. He's a little bit thinner, but he's really quick. And the Niners have taken chances on linebackers who have a DB background, who also might be a little bit thinner, who are very quick from sideline to sideline. They get these linebackers in their program. They add a little bit of bulk to them, and they end up being stars. And Jordan McGee is instinctual. He's drawn the attention of a Daniel Jeremiah, who tweeted out a little while ago, I'm not sure why he's not getting more hype. He played at Temple University. I went there. That's just not why I'm making the pick. I really like the player here in Jordan McGee. I think that he can end up being a late-round steal. And honestly, if he's available at 251 overall, I might be surprised because I think smart teams might take a chance on him a little bit earlier. So that is my latest mock draft. Brand new. That new, as the kids like to say. Grade it for me. A, B, C, D, or F. You can love me. You can hate me. Either way, let me know what you think of it down in the comment section. One more segment left to get to. We're going to take your questions if you get your questions in. If you don't, that's your loss.
We could still use a couple more. So look, if you send in a super chat, $10, you get in the race and you can get your question on the show. $20, you can get your question on the show, and I'll give you, you know what, if someone sends in a 20 right now, in the next 2 minutes before we start this mailbag, I'll do a little beer bong. I'll do a beer bong for
Let's
a
go.
$20.
Let's get it.
Major discount.
Major discount.
Major discount.
$50 super chat, I'll shotgun. $50 super chat, I'll shotgun.
Use that hashtag. Get those questions in.
Did I do my due diligence on Javon Bullard, the safety out of Georgia? Yeah, he's 5'10", $198. So he's a little bit bigger at that safety spot compared to Kalen Bullock. And this past year, more of a coverage safety, 7 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. Last 2 years, he's combined for 4 picks. He ran a 4.47 40-yard dash, so he ran really well. He's sturdy, really big upper body. When I saw him at the combine, I'm like, this dude's built for sure. Good short area quickness, split field range. Kirby Smart described his hitting ability when he was at Georgia, similar to a stick of dynamite. So Niner fans would absolutely love that. A good disguiser at the safety position, too. Hashtag 49ers or super chat. Last opportunity to get on the show here.
Jeremiah Grady, ask that question again. Use hashtag 49ers. I think he meant Ennis Rakestraw. He said Rackstraw.
Yep.
Ask that again. Use hashtag 49ers.
Rakestraw. 5'11", 183, 4.51, 40-yard dash. Patient player. Pretty good feet. He's a little bit lean and lanky. Smaller shoulders. Sometimes that's a concern because you can't add a lot of bulk to your frame. But a 3-year starter at Missouri. Played in 32 games. Plays aggressive. NFL quality movement skills. Also has a little bit of swagger that people would like. Can play man defense for sure.
Cool. I think we're good.
All right, let's do it. Taking your questions to round this thing out. $50 super chat, shotgunning. 20 for a beer bong for Chipper. Brandon Dorless out of Oregon from that Crazy Niners fan. I wouldn't compare him to Aaron Donald. I will say this, though. He's small and does have a fast get-off, which Aaron Donald did possess. Ready to rock this mailbag? Still an opportunity for you to join the show. Just use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. All right, mailbag to round things out. Let's take your questions right now. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Hope all of you out there are having a phenomenal weekend. Thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And today, I always love doing these shows because we open up the floor and we take questions from some of our loyal subscribers as well as our live viewers here on the program. Drippy Sports gets us started with this. First off, I want to say the hate that you're getting must be annoying, and I feel bad for you. But about the Brandon Aiyuk trade, my take is to trade Debo, pay Aiyuk, and work on a Brock Purdy contract during the season. Drippy Sports, honestly, I wouldn't even call it hate. I share my opinions on social media. Sometimes people love those opinions. I want to pass along my analysis. These are commentaries that I pass along on my social media pages. I'm entitled to my opinion. Other people are entitled to their opinion. If they don't like me, they can say whatever they want. But it's also important to note, never put stock in what somebody says about you who you don't know, who doesn't truly care about you, who also hides behind a keyboard. Because those people oftentimes will never say anything to your face. So I truly do not let it get to me. And I really don't care. People have a difficult time deciphering what's a report and what's an opinion. They think that I'm a journalist. I used to be a journalist back in the day. I used to be a news reporter. I don't do that any longer for a reason. I think it's a slimy business from time to time, and frankly, I have no interest in doing that. From 5 years old, I've wanted to be a sports talk show host. And as far as being a sports talk show host goes, sometimes you have to share opinions that are going to ruffle some feathers, but they're my opinions. So that's my thoughts on that. I appreciate it, though, for you caring about me. You don't have to feel bad for me. As far as a Brandon Aiyuk trade, keeping him and trading away Deebo Samuel, here's how I kind of look at it. And I've said this all along. This is one of my predictions for this upcoming season, is that the Niners keep the nucleus together this year. They already got rid of Eric Armstead, but next year is when you see part of that nucleus maybe break up a little bit, where you move on from a Deebo Samuel so that you can pay Brandon Aiyuk, the younger, more productive, more durable player, and a Brock Purdy so that you can pay a Diamador Lenore. You maybe move on from a Kyle Juszczyk or a George Kittle, a player of that caliber, of that popularity. Next offseason is when San Francisco might move off a player like that to clear up some money. And obviously, it comes down to how they perform in 2024. Are they bad and they need to retool, or do they get so close to winning another Super Bowl where they lose it, or do they win it? That could also change the business plans too. TFL Slayer, how much money does Brandon Aiyuk want a year? I'm not sure how much Brandon Aiyuk wants per year on an average annual value basis. I have not heard anything on that front. If I'm Aiyuk in his camp, I think the floor and the starting point is $25 million. Devontae Smith just got a new contract extension from the Philadelphia Eagles at $25 million. Deebo Samuel is at about $24 million. And you have Calvin Ridley, who's making $23 million. I think Brandon Aiyuk is a better wide receiver than Devontae Smith. I think he's a better wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. He's definitely a better wide receiver who's younger, been more durable, and more productive as compared to a player like Calvin Ridley. So my original contract projection was $25.5 million per year for Brandon Aiyuk. But after Smith got 25, Aiyuk in his camp can maybe increase that asking price to 26, 27, 27 and a half. Keep in mind, the salary cap's going to go up, and it's going to continue to go up because business is booming across the NFL, and the wide receiver market is going to continue to explode, and it could get reset again. It already did with Ridley, then it did again with Devontae Smith, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, Jamar Chase, all still to come. Nick Dolfer, will the 49ers' first-round pick be an offensive lineman? It could be an offensive lineman. That's the biggest need, I think, on this football team. And it's the one position group I think that's held them back from truly reaching their potential as a football unit in the biggest of games over the last couple of years. Brock Purdy was pressured 11 times in the Super Bowl by Kansas City. He was running for his life. 9 of those pressures were unblocked. The year before that, Hassan Reddick ruined your party. And the year before that, it was Aaron Donald who ended the game getting through to Jimmy Garoppolo, where he shoveled that ball to JaMychal Hasty errantly, and it went off his hands and got picked off in the NFC title game against the Rams. So offensive lineman is definitely a position of need. And what position are you going to go with? Do you want to go center? Graham Barton, Jackson Powers-Johnson, and Zach Frazier are my 3 favorite centers in this draft class. Do you want to go guard? You could move Graham Barton to guard. You could go Troy Fuatanu at guard. You could go Cooper Beebe in the second round at guard. Do you want to go tackle? Tyler Guyton, Amarius Mims have a lot of size, but they're inexperienced. Do you want to go with the more experienced player like a Kingsley Suamataia or Jordan Morgan? A lot of different routes that you could go. The good thing for San Francisco, Nick, there are good offensive linemen in this draft class at center, at guard, at offensive tackle. It's very deep this year in the 2024 draft class. Even in round 2, you can get a high-quality offensive tackle, maybe like a Roger Rosengarten if he falls. That crazed Niners fan, what do you think of Javon Bullard? Javon Bullard's a good player. Unlike Kalen Bullock out of USC, he's a little bit bigger as compared to him. I have about a second-round, third-round grade on Bullard. He's 5'10", a $198. Certainly packs a punch with that size. There was a legendary quote from Kirby Smart where he described his hitting ability like a little stick of dynamite. He ran a 4.47 40-yard dash, so he's got some good quickness there at that safety spot. He can be a box run defender. The issue, though, San Francisco has 2 of those safeties, and Jair Brown, Talanoa Hufanga. High football IQ. His coaches in high school said this guy's going to be a coach at some point. Hard guy to keep blocked. Again, that's around the line of scrimmage. The questions are, can he thrive at that safety spot playing downfield? He did have 12 pass breakups and 4 interceptions combined over the last 2 years. It is the offseason, but you can continue to support your Niners, and you can continue to support this channel here on the 49ers Report with these San Francisco shirts available right now. Chatsports.com/SF. Goes a long way in supporting the show, but then you take to the streets and people are like, oh, okay, go Niners. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Michael Catanzaro, hopefully I pronounced that right, my man. If I didn't, I apologize, brother. Trading Brandon Aiyuk to Pittsburgh for pick number 20, and then you package 20 and 31 to move up. Who would you like the Niners to go after? Very good question, because that is completely realistic, where you could package 20 and 31 to move up even further. And does that get you to 12, to the Denver Broncos? And the Broncos don't have a second-round pick, so then they get 20 and 31. 31 is a de facto second-round selection. They're a rebuilding team. They're looking to stack up their roster with some good players. Let's say you get to 12. Do you take Quinion Mitchell, the cornerback? Does Joe Alt fall? Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State? Do you decide to go Taliese Fuanga, the offensive tackle out of Oregon State? Do you go Troy Fuatanu out of Washington? Is that why John Lynch and Chris Forrester went to scout some Washington pro prospects last weekend? Jared Verse could be a possibility there, the edge rusher out of Florida State, but I'm not sure the Niners would go that position then. Do you really like some of the other offensive linemen? Yeah, DB, offensive lineman, edge rusher, defensive tackle is too early for a pick like number 12, but you could easily go best player available there for sure. Or do you go wide receiver? Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas, A.D. Mitchell. Those could be possibilities at number 12 too to replace Brandon Aiyuk. Lawrence Moore, if Thomas or Mitchell is still available, could you see us bundling picks and moving up to grab them? Yeah, I just talked about both of them. Brian Thomas, Adonai Mitchell. I like both of them a lot. Brian Thomas has a lot of size, a lot of speed, really strong hand on tape. Fell under the radar a little bit because he's playing alongside Malik Neighbors. One of my draft crushes is A.D. Mitchell. I like the size and the speed component. I like the route tree. I like the big-time playing ability. I think he could be a better player at the pro level as compared to the college level. Jeremiah Grady. Trading up for them, though, I'm not sure I'd do that. Jeremiah Grady, what running back do you think that we'll draft? The running back that I like is Blake Corum, but I don't know if I'd go with him in round 3, and I don't think he's going to be available in round 4. So I like Blake Corum. Some of the other running backs, it's definitely a weak running back class. Jonathan Brooks is probably a third rounder. Trey Benson out of Florida State is a good player. I like Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. 4.46 40-yard dash, some receiving ability. I think he's really elusive. Will Shipley out of Clemson if you want a poor man's Christian McCaffrey. Isaac Guerendo in the later rounds. He's a 4.3 40-yard dash guy at 6 foot 221. Rasheen Ali, Marshall, Dylan Johnson out of Washington. Those are all late rounders there. Kamani Vidal is a very good pass blocking back out of Troy. A lot of different options. Wet Noodle 187. What son or brother is going to have the better career? Good question here. Brendan Rice, Frank Gore Jr., Luke McCaffrey. If I could put it in order, I'd go Brendan Rice, Luke McCaffrey, and then Gore. I think Brendan Rice is a third-round pick. Maybe a team reaches on him in the second because of the bloodlines there, but I think he's a third-round pick. I think McCaffrey's a fourth or fifth rounder. Gore is probably a late rounder who's going to be a priority free agent. On Dane Brugler's big board for his running backs, he has him listed as a priority free agent after the draft and not getting drafted. He ran a 4.7 40-yard dash at his pro day. It's not ideal. He did not run at the NFL Combine. And he's smaller. He's 5'7", but 198 pounds. But Frank Gore was slept on too. Ended up being who I think is going to be a Hall of Famer, third all-time in rushing yards. That crazed Niners fan. Last question here. I think I'm biased because this is my school, but I really want Darius Robinson from Mizzou. Darius Robinson's an interesting player. He can play on the edge. He can maybe be a hybrid player who plays on the outside but then slides to the interior, like a Charles Omenihu or an Arden Key. Very good sack production this past year. I think he's a fringe round 1, maybe a round 2 player, depending on how teams have him graded. But you're right. You're not just biased. He's a good player. Make sure you subscribe to us here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. If you're watching us here on Thursday, I'll be joining Grant Cohn on his show at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, 4:15 p.m. Pacific. That's about to go down here on this Thursday. If you're watching this after the fact, go back and check that out. Support both of us as content creators. Last call for Super Chats here. And our last live show before the NFL Draft.
Wow, it's here, baby. It's here. Man, what an exciting time. Especially with all these trade rumors. You never know. Something crazy always goes down in the draft that you never expect. Someone gets picked way higher than you think. Somebody falls down the draft. You never know. Wonder who the guy is that's going to slide down draft boards. That crazy Niner fan, I like this. Cody Schrader from Mizzou, running back out of Missouri. 7th round. I love him, man.
D3 player 2 years ago.
Crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he's got some pop. He looked good against Ohio State. He can run that ball, man. Very productive. Wet Noodle asks, when are you going to be on tonight with Grant? You said 7:15 Eastern, right?
7:15 Eastern, 4:15 Pacific.
There we go.
All right, 2-minute super chat shot clock. 2 minutes to get a super chat in if you want to donate to the show. If not, we're outie.
Not like the caller, though. Trade Debo. Interesting. Couple people wanting to trade Debo and pay Aiyuk.
Debo. Whoa. Let's see if he still has me blocked. I'm still blocked.
Not to be a homer, I like Johnson, the running back from Washington. He is a dog, man. I remember down the stretch that last season when they were making that run to the championship, he was hurt, playing injured, but he was still out there, man. He's a good player. I think he's a guy, 6th round, if he's still there, 5th, 6th round. I think a team's going to take a shot on him, and he's going to be a very good player. He was really good for them. I'm surprised he doesn't get a little bit more buzz. Runs very hard. Jay Butler, like the kid from South Carolina. I see A.J. Brown all over again talking about Xavier Legette.
Yep.
Yeah, he can catch too, Wet Noodle. Johnson can.
No doubt. Yeah, Xavier Legette is like an A.J. Brown type of body type. Field Yates had him going to the Kansas City Chiefs, actually, with pick number 32 in the draft. That's the earliest that I've seen him get mocked anywhere.
I'm curious, because I'm pretty sure he had a very good game against Clemson when I was there.
Okay.
Xavier Legette did. I want to go back and look. I feel like he...
Fast riser. I mean, one really good year of production. I went to South Carolina UNC week 1 last year to watch Drake May, and I can't really remember Xavier Legette making too many big plays.
Yeah, again, yeah, it really just was 2023 for him. But, I mean, 6 catches, 68 yards, pretty solid game.
Let's see. Okay.
Against Clemson. Had 7 for 71 against Georgia. Had 9 for 178 against UNC.
So he did have a big game there against UNC when I was there. My takeaway from that game, Drake May, I really like him as a prospect, and South Carolina's offensive line was so bad. Spencer Rattler was just running for his life all night there in Charlotte. All right, we're about to sign off. We will see you live again a week from today, Thursday. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We have raffle items every day of the draft, MVP items every day of the draft for some of our super chatters out there, and the graphics packages that we have, and the insight and the research behind all of these draft prospects that I've done, that we've done as a company. I promise you, it is going to be a fantastic product. So be on the lookout for that. We'll catch you a week from today, but of course, coverage to come every day here on the 49ers Report. For Chip, I'm Chase for the faithful. We'll see you next time. Peace.